Revenge films.
My husband and I both got remarried after previous divorces. I divorced my ex-husband because of domestic violence, and my husband divorced his ex-wife because she had an affair and racked up debt. I met my current husband by chance when we ended up sharing a table at a restaurant, and then we happened to run into each other again on the street. We both laughed about such an incredible coincidence and exchanged contact info on the spot. My husband was such a sincere person, and since we'd both been betrayed by our former spouses, our shared experiences became a topic of conversation, and we grew closer and closer. After about a year, my husband proposed and we decided to get married. When we went to meet my in-laws, maybe because we both failed at marriage once before, they wouldn't approve of our marriage. They told us if we wanted to get married, we should do it on our own. We weren't kids anymore, so even though my in-laws were against it, we went ahead and got married anyway. But after the wedding, I started getting frequent calls from my in-laws with snide remarks and passive-aggressive comments. When I got pregnant and told them about the baby being born, they said, "That child isn't my son's!" I was understandably hurt and kept my distance from them. However, the situation changed when our child turned 1 year old. Suddenly, my mother-in-law called me, clearly crying, saying, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry," over and over. I had no idea why she was crying, so I passed the phone to my husband. Apparently, she was asking to meet her grandchild just once. After all this time refusing to see us, why the sudden change? When we asked what was going on, it turned out that my husband's ex-wife was involved. We decided to go over that weekend to hear the whole story. The next day, an unknown number appeared on my phone. When I answered, wondering who it could be, it was actually the ex-wife. As soon as I picked up, she started in. "It's your fault I can't have a second child, so give me back my husband." She was saying completely nonsensical things. As I listened more, she threw out more absurd logic, basically claiming that since she married my husband first, I stole him from her, so I should pay her compensation. In the first place, my husband and I met after he divorced his ex-wife, so I had no reason to take this accusation, and yet somehow everything was being blamed on me. My husband wasn't home at the time, so I thought it was best not to engage and hung up. That night when my husband came home from work, I told him what happened. He was shocked, and we decided to go to my in-laws' house right away instead of waiting until the weekend. We dropped our child off at my parents' house and headed to my in-laws. They apologized profusely and told us the whole story. Apparently, even after divorcing my husband, the ex-wife kept bringing her child to my in-laws' house. My in-laws, considering the child their grandchild, had been giving presents and pocket money. That part wasn't the problem, but when the ex-wife found out her ex-husband got married and was having a baby, she apparently told my in-laws that there was no way he'd love someone else and get her pregnant. So she convinced them I was having an affair and carrying another man's child. The ex-wife also told them the reason for the divorce was because my ex-husband and I were having an affair, and that's why they split up. They said she hated me because of this. This was not exactly a good excuse, but I'd been wondering all this time why my in-laws hated me, and it finally made sense. Then came the final straw. My in-laws had a savings account they'd been keeping, but they recently noted that $1,500 had been withdrawn every month for several months through card charges. When they investigated, they found it was a certain credit card, one that a friend had asked them to apply for about a year ago, saying, "Just open one for me." They'd put it away so they couldn't understand why it was being used. But my husband and I had been distant from my in-laws the whole time, and the only person who came and went from the house was the ex-wife. When they checked the transaction history, they found purchases at various stores near where she lived, which led straight back to the ex-wife. When they confronted her, she apparently confessed everything, but her excuse was outrageous. She claimed that even though she and my husband were divorced, since they were still her daughter's grandparents, she had the right to use the card. Once my in-laws realized what kind of person the ex-wife really was, they turned pale knowing how terribly they'd treated me, and that's why they called crying. Of course, I can't just erase all the nasty things they said to me, and being told, "Let's get along now," after all this time doesn't exactly sit well with me. But after hearing the circumstances and learning they were deceived, I no longer felt the hatred and anger I had before. My in-laws admitted they'd been wrong in how they treated us. They were deeply remorseful, and they said they'd make amends however they could and begged for forgiveness. Well, considering they'd been fed lies by the ex-wife, I decided to forgive them for now. They bowed deeply and apologized, saying how truly sorry they were. Anyway, the immediate issue was dealing with the ex-wife, who was still stirring up trouble even after the divorce. Sure enough, once the ex-wife couldn't get money from my in-laws anymore, she desperately started contacting me, calling 30 times a day, leaving voicemails saying, "He really wants to remarry me, just break up with him already, or you'll be dumped eventually anyway." To top it all off, apparently during her marriage to my husband, she had terminated 2 pregnancies with affair partners. But she claimed she did it all for my husband's sake, and as a result couldn't have children anymore, so we owed her $50,000 in compensation. It was completely insane. My husband didn't even know about any of this and was absolutely disgusted, saying, "That's unbelievable." Whatever her reasons, if she really did that twice, it's no wonder she can't have children now. In the end, we decided to sue the ex-wife together with my in-laws for all her ridiculous claims. Especially using my in-laws' card without permission was clearly illegal, so we reported it to the police. The ex-wife's response was, "Why do I have to get arrested? You're the ones who are wrong. I didn't do anything wrong." The nerve of her to say that. We went through so much grief because of her lies. In the end, the ex-wife didn't go to jail, but she ended up owing a massive debt, including the months of $1,500 charges, plus compensation to me. Her parents got involved, apologizing profusely and promising they'd make sure she paid the compensation. However, since her child was innocent, the ex-wife's parents said they'd take responsibility for raising the grandchild, which gave my husband some relief. After that, we made sure the ex-wife paid her compensation without mercy. Apparently, she's working at a convenience store in the morning and a bar at night, but the debt is so large she can barely make a dent in it. She's called my husband several times begging, "Please help me," but he blocked her immediately. As for my in-laws, we're taking our time to mend our relationship. As for the ex-wife, well, she can spend many long years making amends for what she did.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.